especially if you're not available to watch all the games. I'm seeing some tanks here in the chat. Cal, how do you feel about tanking?
You know, tanking is never the answer for me. It's just not, maybe it's the competitiveness in me. I don't think it's the right way to go ever. Try to fix it. I know some people consider firing the coach and bringing in an interim coach or something like that, or, you know, somebody who's a glue guy to try and fill the gap between the old coach and the long-term new head coach is considered tanking in itself because, you know, you're not expected to do anything after that. But every now and then, you know, we saw it with Nate McMillan in the Hawks last year. He takes over full-time. They go on this huge run. They eventually make the Eastern Conference Finals. Every once in a while, it ends up being a good thing for your team. It actually turns it around. And the Kings have a guy on their bench like Nate McMillan, who has a lot of head coaching experience in this league, has done this a bunch of times in Alvin Gentry. So am I saying that Alvin Gentry becomes the head coach, the Kings make the Western Conference Finals? No, that's not what I'm saying. But, you know, it just seems like a better situation than there could be a lot worse of a situation for the Kings to be in than that move specifically.
I'm going to give you Alvin Gentry's head coaching record. 510
probably not very good.
Wins, 595 losses.
Yeah. Around 500, and I don't think a lot of playoff success either,
and I think he's taken over maybe twice after a head coach got fired.
He's coached a lot of different teams and for a long time, so
yeah. It's really coming to a point, guys, in the season here where Monty needs to make a decision. He needs to figure out if we are going to try and compete this year, if we need to just blow it up, whether we need to go for a good draft pick. And I think that that's going to be really important in whether Walton stays or not, because you don't want to hire a new guy and then lose a bunch of games on purpose.
Yes.
But that could be why Alvin Gentry has such a bad record too. Taking over midway through season.
It's hard to win
head coaches. NBA. It really is. Man, you guys are getting ridiculous here in the chat. Bring back Papa Giannis. I don't know what he's gonna do. Tim Donahue cursed us. I agree with that. Mike D'Antoni would bring in shooters and has a system. Yes, he does. I think, honestly, if D'Antoni was here, and I think D'Antoni has a great relationship with with Monty McNair from their whole time together in Houston. Monty seems to love the run and gun 3-ball style of play. Mm-hmm. So does Mike D'Antoni. He's assistant right now with the Nets. Mike D'Antoni, if he was the head coach of this team, even if we're losing games, at least we would know what the system was. We would know what they're trying to do. It would be clear. What is Luke Walton's system right now? What is he trying to do? They score 140 points one game. They score 89 another game.
Yeah.
I don't see much consistency in the play style.
Yeah. Yeah. My only thing with Mike D'Antoni is, you're right. You would know the system, and it would probably be heavily predicated around shooting threes. This team isn't a consistent enough three-point shooting team right now as they're currently constructed for that to work for me.
Yeah.
You know, you have Buddy Hield who can get hot really quick, and he can go on pretty long streaks. Harrison Barnes is a much improved three-point shooter. Tyrese isn't bad. Mm-hmm. The rest of them are not very consistent at all, and even those guys are not totally that consistent. Tyrese has only gotten 1 year. Yeah, he had a good year, first year, but he hasn't sustained that. And we've seen Harrison Barnes take a lot fewer threes lately. So I don't know. I like Mike D'Antoni. I like the idea of what the offense could be, playing really fast, and that 7 seconds or less-ish type pace, whatever. But you're right. They would have to bring in some more shooters, I think, before that system worked as effectively as it could.
Yeah, and if you have De'Aaron Fox running the show, he hasn't
He's not
shown.
a guy I want shooting 8 threes.
He hasn't shown that he can make the three consistently. I mean, he's still young. We've seen a lot of guys develop three-point shots later in their careers. LeBron James is one of them.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not going to compare anybody to LeBron James because it's LeBron James.
But you're right.
But guys have gotten much better. But, if I were to think about a point guard who didn't really shoot well but was great at getting to the basket, I think about an early Rajon Rondo. When he played on that Boston Celtics team, the game's a little bit easier when you're playing with 3 Hall of Famers on your team. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But Rondo would slash to the basket, and he'd end up kicking it out every time to Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, or he'd end up getting a layup. This is without a stretch 5. Mm-hmm. They had Kendrick Perkins. They had a couple other big guys in there. I think the only stretch guy they end up having in that run was Rasheed Wallace, and that was later on.
Yeah.
They had Shaq on that team for a minute. Yep. Jermaine O'Neal was on that team for a minute. So and I think Leon Poe was killing it for them for a little bit after the Cleveland stint or maybe before.
Big Baby.
Yeah, Big Baby. But to see the success that he had on that squad, just dishing the ball and getting to the basket, I think De'Aaron Fox could do that much better than he could because De'Aaron Fox has the athleticism and the speed that Rajon Rondo didn't. Don't get me wrong, Rajon Rondo, I love me some Rondo.
Very quick.
Very quick guy, very smart guy.
Yeah.
Better passer than De'Aaron Fox. But I think it's possible for Fox to have success in a system where guys are shooting threes and they don't necessarily need a stretch 5 for him to have success, but it could help. It could definitely help.
Yeah, I think they're going in a little bit different direction. Derrick Rose is another good person to look at when you're comparing De'Aaron Fox. Definitely not known for his outside shooting when he came into the league. He was an attack the rim / get to the basket type guy with a lot of athleticism, speed, and explosiveness. And then, of course, the injuries, and he eventually developed into a very reliable outside shooter. So there's still optimism for Fox that he can, get better at shooting from the outside, I think.
You know who's a great three-point shooter that's not on a team right now?
Who's that?
Nick Stauskas.
Yeah. Really good college